Democracy Now! Has long been committed to reporting on the long-standing conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. They have never shied away from reporting on happenings involving injustice or the denial of human rights. Today's video will encompass a number of excerpts taken from various Democracy Now! Publications that shed light on the devastation impacting civilians in Gaza. Excerpts from humanwatch.org and Channel 4 News are featured as well. Palestinian health officials in the Gaza Strip say the death toll from 2 weeks of unrelenting Israeli attacks has topped 4,100, with over 13,000 wounded. More than 1,000 Gaza residents remain missing, many of them under the rubble of collapsed homes. In one overnight incident, the St. Porphyrius Greek Orthodox Church in Gaza City, which was sheltering hundreds of displaced Palestinians, was struck by an apparent Israeli airstrike. Gaza officials say 18 Christian Palestinians were killed. Part of the 12th century structure, one of the oldest churches in the world, was reduced to rubble. This is a survivor. They came here to escape the airstrikes and the destruction. They thought they were safe here. The destruction followed them. The destruction followed them, Biden. Biden, you are giving all your support to Israel to kill the civilians. Gaza's hospitals are on the brink of collapse, with shortages of fuel, electricity, and critical medical supplies. Doctors at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis have resorted to using vinegar to treat infected wounds. According to Gaza's Ministry of Housing, at least 30% of the territory's housing units have been destroyed, rendered uninhabitable, or damaged. This is Asma Sabah, whose family has been forced to move to a makeshift tent in Khan Yunis. We now live like our ancestors in 1948. We are displaced from our homes. Just like their reality, we live in tents. We left our homes to stay in tents, just like our ancestors. We never expected to be here. O world, have mercy on us. We want a truce. We are tired. What does Israel want from us? We are displaced from our homes. What more do they want? UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres arrived at the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing to Gaza, where a humanitarian aid convoy remains stuck Friday, October 20th, despite a deal to allow the passage of the first 20 trucks. Guterres urged Israeli and Egyptian officials to open the crossing as soon as possible to allow food, water, medicine, and fuel to be delivered at scale, calling it the difference between life and death for so many people. HumanRightsWatch.org reports that the laws of war do not prohibit sieges or blockades of enemy forces, but they may not include tactics that prevent civilians access to items essential for their survival, such as water, food, and medicine. Parties to the conflict must allow and facilitate the rapid passage of impartial humanitarian aid for all civilians in need. Aid may be inspected, but not arbitrarily delayed. In addition, during military occupations, such as in Gaza, the occupying power has a duty under the Fourth Geneva Convention, to the fullest extent of means available to it, of ensuring the food and medical supplies of the population. Starvation as a method of warfare is prohibited and is a war crime. Under international human rights law, states must respect the right to water, which includes refraining from limiting access to or destroying water services and infrastructure as a punitive measure during armed conflicts, as well as respecting the obligations to protect objects indispensable for survival of the civilian population. Israel's total blockade against the population in Gaza forms part of the crimes against humanity of apartheid and persecution that Israeli authorities are committing against Palestinians. In the occupied West Bank, the Palestinian Health Ministry says 13 people were killed Thursday, October 19th, as Israeli forces bombed and raided the Nur Shams refugee camp. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant states, "There can be no forgiveness, only total annihilation of the Hamas organizations, its terror infrastructures, everything that has to do with terrorists and whoever sent them. It will take a week, it will take a month, it will take 2 months until we eliminate them. In a recent interview with British Public Broadcast Service, Channel 4 News, scholar, activist, and former Palestine Liberation Organization politician Hanan Ashrawi was asked, if and when Hamas is removed from the Gaza Strip in the next few days or weeks, what do you think will replace Hamas? What's the plan there? She replied, do you think Hamas would be removed from the Gaza Strip? Do you know what Hamas is? Hamas is a big movement. Hamas has a military wing and has an armed wing, and Hamas has institutions. Hamas has government, all the ministries. Hamas has a women's movement, has a student movement. It is part of the very fabric of Palestinian life. How are they going to remove it? Excuse me, are they going to kill all these people? And are they going to undermine Hamas in their own people's eyes? No. If you ask the people of Gaza, they say, at least somebody stood up for us. Somebody stood up and did something. Former Israeli peace negotiator Daniel Levy recently challenged BBC News presenter Mariam Moshari on the idea that Israelis have waged war to put an end to Hamas. Moshari stated, the Israelis would say, well, look, we are defending ourselves. We are targeting Hamas, targets in Gaza. We are trying to put an end to what we believe is a terrorist organization once and for all. Daniel Levy replied, do you really keep a straight face when you say that? Do you think terrorist organizations embedded in populations who are denied their most basic rights are ended once and for all in a military campaign? Does that happen in history? Can someone credibly tell me that when the leadership of a country says we are cutting off food, electricity, water, all supplies to an entire civilian population, that they're targeting militants? I'd like to close the video with words from former U.S. Representative Justin Amash. He has lost loved ones in the conflict. He states, give rest, O Lord, to their souls, and may their memories be eternal. May God watch over all Christians in Gaza and all Israelis and Palestinians who are suffering, whatever their religion or creed.